a debate I wanted to bring up because I thought it was a very, very interesting one. So just saw a tweet on Twitter, and there's a bit of a debate in it. Our players are as committed these days compared to how it was 12 years ago. Probably sound like a dinosaur here, but missing a match for a festival or party never even entered my head. Same with holidays during a season. Is the standard better now or worse? Food for thought. Now, I'll give you my opinion on this first, right? Um, I've no doubt that clubs train a lot more now, and the training is a lot more professional. The quantity of the training is a hell of a lot more than it was in the past. Maybe when it was just Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and there wasn't really any gym in between. Your gym maybe was 100 push-ups at the end of a session or something like that, or your physical work was a few sprints at the end of a session or something like that. So lads are doing more now. But on the flip side of that, I've noticed a hell of a lot of people who, like, if they have a holiday booked and a championship game comes up, that's it. There's no comeback at all. They're just going to go on the holiday and they're not going to come back for the match or make an effort or anything like that. Whereas, like, I don't know, back in the day, number one, I wouldn't have even booked a holiday for fear of missing something. I remember missing my godfather's like wedding celebration mass maybe a couple of weeks after the wedding. I was supposed to do a reading because I thought if I missed that session, I'd no chance of starting for Bird the weekend and making my debut. And I didn't make my debut, but after. But you'd literally go to every end of the earth to make sure that you were there and present. I have to say, I think that's changed a good bit now. Like, I think, like, even with Electric Picnic last weekend, there's a good few people I know like had matches scheduled for the Friday night, and it wasn't even a case of playing the match and going to Electric Picnic after. It was, oh no, we have the full weekend ticket. We're going to Electric Picnic for the weekend. I just cannot get my head around that. I can't get my head around that mentality at all. And I don't know, maybe that's the example that was set within our club. Lads were always there and they come back from holidays. Remember, lads go in away in the Aran Islands for a week or something like that with the family, and they come back on the Tuesday and the Friday for training. Maybe that's just the example I was given, and that you follow that. But I definitely think it's changed a bit now. What do you reckon?
It's a tough one because I look back on previous years for myself, and like I went on holidays during the 2013 championship. I think the start of 2014, but I think that was before I took it as seriously as it needed to be taken. So I'm reluctant to absolutely hammer people over this, even though it's unbelievably frustrating when these things happen. You book a holiday, lads are gone, and that's it. Like, if you have your fixture schedule, I think you have to plan things around and realize, okay, I have a game then. I'm not like, and generally you get a couple of months notice now at this stage. Not like, when we were younger, a game could just come out of nowhere. Like, you could have booked, you can try and wait, but still you don't know, your county team gets knocked out of a championship and all of a sudden you're out to play the following week. So I think it was probably more difficult back then. It also depends on the area you're in. Like, if you're in an area and the only thing that's been talked about up and down the street on the high stools, on the low stools, is hurling or Gaelic football, it's, and the whole place just talks about that only, it's very, very difficult to get away with doing something like that. But if you're in another area, like, it was funny, I remember going on that holiday, maybe some holiday or other anyway, it might have been 2014. And I was telling Matty Kenny, look, I'm heading away for whatever it was. I think I was heading away for a wedding. It was one of my very good friends' weddings. And he said to me, I missed my brother's wedding for a championship match. And I went and played a match for the club and I got man of the match too. And like, I still remember him saying that. And like, I totally believe it. Like, he would, I'd say, like, there's no way he'd ever miss a match for whatever reason.
Did that change what you were going to do in any way?
No, because like, I was gone for a week or whatever. It was a very close friend's wedding. So I was always going to go, but did I want to miss the game? No. But was it the absolute be all and end all? No. So I can understand sometimes when players do this sort of stuff. But I think if you want to really succeed at the top end of whether it's club or intercounty, it just, some things just have to give. So that was at a time when, Kula wasn't winning. And I was probably, without realizing it, I thought I was committing, really well, training hard, all that stuff. But, I wasn't. I was probably part of the problem, going through the motions a little bit. And it was only the following year that I really started to pick it up, and maybe other lads did the same or whatever. And that sort of all contributed to the fact that the club started going like a hockey stick in terms of the the progress, the trajectory after that. But yeah, I'm reluctant to hammer people, but you know, if you see that happening, and you're the manager, I think it's very, very difficult to stand by it, especially when you've got lots of notice about these things.
Yeah, Boom Boom says people have to live to, and I totally get that. It's just, I think you're generally given probably given 2 to 3 windows at different stages where you can go to things and things like that. I think people take the piss a bit more now, being honest with you. And book things a bit willy-nilly and don't seem to think about things too much over. Like A Sully 180 just says here, a wedding you have no control over, you do have control over a holiday or a festival. Like I would agree with that too. Like, and a wedding is something that you cannot miss. You know, a holiday or a festival is something that you can book in a certain time that kind of suits everybody. That's just my own opinion. ML89 just says here as well, lads have more interest outside the game now. I don't know if this is important in their lives nowadays. Lads are realising more to life too. Depends how important they are to the team too, in a way. Very true. And I definitely think Andrew said above there as well, I do think COVID has changed people's opinions in a lot of ways too, because you were denied and there was no possibility of going anywhere for so long that I think lads and ladies just take any opportunity that's in front of them now. And in that sense, it's probably hard to blame them. I would just
we
I
all
know
had
from
2 years robbed off us, basically. We all had 2 years robbed,
yeah,
and a
yeah,
lot of it for absolutely nonsense. You know, like there were, of course, you know, people who suffered from COVID, but there was a lot of the regulations. I mean, your €9 chicken nugget meals or whatever, stopping people from doing outdoor activities. We had
yeah.
2 years absolutely robbed off us by lunatics.
And just on that as well, as I said, I just think there's windows there that you should take a bit more, like missing championship games or something like that. I think is bananas. Like I know of a tight knit rural parish in Offaly where you're nearly excommunicated if you're going off to the States for a summer, or you're nearly excommunicated if you're going off for a week in championship or anything like that. I'm not saying that's right, but it's definitely the attitude of serial winners like these boys are. That's just you know what I mean? Because they'll make whatever sacrifice and they'll go on holidays in November, December, or January, February. And when they're going to be off, rather than the possibility of even missing something in the middle of the season.
Yeah, Pádraig O'Malley says, how are you lads? Also, if you have a really deep panel, you can sort of absorb a
Yeah.
couple of players doing that. Richard Hogan, does this maybe show the need for midweek games, especially around August bank holiday and first weekend in September? Yeah, coming up to long weekends, could counties en masse not just say, okay, we're going to play games on Wednesdays and Thursdays? If it's a dual county, though, you might have had, you know, a football match 3 days beforehand. Now you're playing hurling, and then the weekend off. People are going to booze it up to the max. Come back then and play the following week. Their bodies are wrecked, more and more injuries. It's just not an easy one. So I'm not agreeing or disagreeing, Richard, but you know, it's not a simple one.
We've talked about it, Shane, before about like playing games on Thursdays and Fridays, just because I'm a big believer in giving panels the weekend or giving them as much time as you can. Like if just say you play a game on a Friday, realistically, if it's a championship game, you're not going to be back till Monday at the earliest, you'd imagine. Maybe there's a bit of recovery in there in between, but it's okay to maybe skip something like that. So you're giving them 3 or 4 days. And I think managers really need to be clever and give lads weekends when they can and give lads long weekends whenever they can as well, because it keeps everyone sane, because there is a degree of, you know, insanity to what we're doing in the GA. There's no point in saying any different. And you do need to give people a chance to kick their feet up or go to the beach for a couple of days or just get a bit of a release. And then they usually come back refreshed as well. More what I'm talking about here is, you know, going off for 10 days, you know, between a quarter final and a semi final or something like that, like which I've seen done and heard done. And it's just that kind of thing is mind boggling to me anyway.
Yeah, well, look, if you're truly serious about going places, that sort of stuff, you know, can't really happen, because it's unless you have a massive panel where you have so many players and you can just cut 1 or 2 for doing something like that or leave them on the bench or whatever. Otherwise, you're just not really going places. Come here.